All right, Jordan, you're going to start the interview here. Jordan's 13 years old. He's a Blue Magazine young journalist. We're here with Mr. Tom Homan, our border czar. Jordan, get right into it.
So, Mr. Homan, as a teenager, what do you say to young people who may believe strict border security is blocking opportunities for struggling families elsewhere in our world?
It doesn't hold up any opportunities because this country is the most giving country in the entire world. We bring more refugees into this nation than any other country in the world. So it's a great opportunity. But there's a right way and wrong way to come to this country, and we welcome millions of people every year. And there are millions of people right now standing in line, taking their tests, doing their background investigations to be part of the greatest nation on earth. There's a right way and wrong way to come to this country. We got to do things the right way. So we give opportunities to millions of people every year.
What is your greatest challenge with having young people understand that a secure border saves lives?
I think it's the messaging. We got to control the messaging. So if they understand exactly what we do, how we do it, and the results of what we do, they'll understand, right? So, for instance, we need to let the American people know that the President Trump promised that we would prioritize public safety threats and national security threats. A lot of times I read the media and they say we're not doing that, but the data speaks for itself. For instance, 70% of everybody we arrest on the streets of this country are public safety threats. They are criminals. The other 30% could be national security threats. It could be gang members. So it's about messaging to the American people. Being transparent exactly what we do. If we're honest with the American people, because we're doing the right thing, they need to know we're doing the right thing. And the way we get that is to open the books. Let them see exactly what we're doing. Be transparent. This is the most transparent administration I've ever worked for. You got a president sitting over here in the Oval Office who does press interviews every day. The other day he spent over an hour on a press gaggle. So we got to continue doing that. Let the American people know exactly what we're doing.
Why has the Democratic Party been so successful with young voters, and do you see this changing?
It's changing right now. I think the young voters, President Trump is a game changer. He brought more young voters over to the Republican Party than any president in the history of this nation. He brought the black vote, the minority vote, the young vote. I mean, what he did was astounding. And I think the young people are beginning to understand that there's no downside in loving this country, respecting this country, and the rule of law. I think young folks are understanding that you don't have a country if you don't have sovereignty. You don't have a country if you don't have a secure border. You can't have national security, strong national security, if you don't have border security. I think the young people, it's a smart generation. I think they're discovering that law and order makes sense. Law and order makes this country a better country. That's why so many people want to come to this country. We're a great country, great opportunities, but we're a law and order country.
What is it like working with President Trump?
Greatest president of my lifetime. I've worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan. I respect every president I work for, even those I disagree with, because they're the president of the United States. But President Trump is the best president in my lifetime. And what reason I say that, I'm a border guy, I'm a law enforcement guy. No one's done more to secure the border than President Trump. We have the most secure border in the history of the nation right now. He loves law enforcement. He loves first responders, and he proves it every day. So, my relationship with him is great. I mean, we talk often. We meet often. And you look at his success compared to every other president, no comparison. Whether it's the economy, whether it's rebuilding our military, or whether it's not the most secure border of my lifetime, it's win after win. And, I'm honored every day to wake up and work for the man. It's a great honor.
Finally, do you have children, and what is it like being a father who works in the White House and who is a national leader?
I got 2 boys. One's 33, who kind of followed my footsteps. He's a special agent. And I got a younger one who's 23, and he's going after his PhD. Bankrupted me with college costs. But look, I'm a family guy, and I always say I work very hard, but I try to prioritize my family life over my work life. But, my oldest son, shoulder to shoulder with me on immigration enforcement. Younger son has his own opinion. And we can disagree. And we do disagree on some things. But we love each other. He respects me. I respect him. I'm not forcing anybody to agree with what I do every day, the policies I push. People have a right to their own opinions, but I think the facts speak for themselves. And I think my younger son, we don't agree on everything. He's got his own opinions on things, but he does agree that the country is much safer with a secure border. And politics are something that separates families. My family would never be separate over politics. I welcome different opinions. Matter of fact, many times I sit at a table and some of the ideas I come up with aren't my ideas. They're ideas I get through conversation with friends, family, and others that I work with, others I'm friends with. So I'm open for discussion, any of that stuff, and the same with my two boys. We have an open discussion, may not always agree, but we respect each other's opinion.
Thank you, Mr. Homan.
You got it. Appreciate you.
It's July 30th. We're here in the White House with our border czar, Mr. Tom Homan. He's also a friend of Blue Magazine. And I'm with our journalist, Steve Olimpio, and our junior journalist, Jordan Beck. Got a lot of questions for you, Mr. Homan. Let's begin with, do you enjoy any sense of normalcy in your personal life?
No.
Any normalcy in your family life, or is it just hectic all day with everything that you do now that you're in the national spotlight every second and every minute of the day?
Every day's hectic, whether it's business hectic or family life hectic, because I'm on the move a lot. I don't see my family a lot because I am traveling a lot and I work a lot of hours. But when I can, I try to see them. But they put up with it too, right? I mean, whether it's my wife or my sons, they put up with some of the hate. They put up with some of the controversy because of who they are. It's unfortunate. But we got a great relationship. My wife's best thing ever happened to me. But it is hectic, and she understands it. My family understands it. When I got back into this, I unretired for the second time, so they're already familiar with what happened during Trump 45, all the media attention, all the love or hate. So they knew what they're getting back into. But you know what? They all wanted me to come back because they understood that I was last 4 years. I wake up every day pissed off what the last administration did to our border. So they all supported me coming back, and they're team players in me, and I love them, and they're a big part of why I'm back, because they believe in what I'm doing.
What would you say is the biggest change from being the leader of ICE in the past and now working here in the White House? What would you say the biggest change in your life has been?
Well, I work directly with President Trump. That's a big change. And I'm involved with strategic policy. I'm just not running an agency. I'm overseeing any policies that deal with border security, national security, interior enforcement. So I have a bigger role. So at the White House, I'm helping with creating strategic vision and policies that push down to the agencies, and it's a cool role, right? I have a lot to do with pushing down what ICE should be doing, Border Patrol should be doing. This is a guy to secure this nation and to make the nation safer. And the criminal rate's already dropping down. But back when I was there, as agent, 98% of everybody I arrested was Mexican national. Now it's under the last administration, the Biden administration, Border Patrol arrested people from 161 different countries. So the border has really changed. The border was not so much of a national security issue as it is now. We have people in this world that hate this country and want to see us, put us in harm's way. And so now it's more of a national security issue now than it ever was because of the politics of the world. So now I think border places understand that you're not just securing the border and enforcing immigration law. What your job is now is one of national security because of the threats around the world that try to enter this country to its harm.
So Blue Magazine obviously is a magazine for law enforcement. So we'd like you to speak directly to our readers. Take us from an officer on the front lines back in a small village in upstate New York to your national leadership position now. I mean, how possible is that for anybody else to accomplish this? And if clearly it is possible, what are the best steps that officer can do to succeed in his career path?
Well, look, I've had a hell of a ride. I went from West Carthage, New York, a town of 2,000, to the West Wing. I mean, it's an American dream, right?
Yeah.
just gotta believe in yourself. You get, if you aim high, you go high. I knew from when I was a kid, as young as Jason there, I always knew I wanted to be a cop. So, and my dad was a cop, my grandfather was a cop. I always knew I wanted to be a cop, and when I joined the police force, I loved it. I wanted to do more. Rather than protecting the town, maybe protect the state. Maybe it's get involved with a bigger role in the federal government, which I did, and that was purely by coincidence. I mean, I was actually fishing one weekend. Me and a few other cops ran into a Border Patrol agent up on the docks of Alexandria Bay. We're up there fishing. Border Patrol boat comes in. We start talking. I knew Border Patrol existed in the area. Didn't really know what they did. When we started talking about it, I said, that sounds pretty cool. So I took the Border Patrol test a month later. So I ended up in the Border Patrol. Then I ended up being a special agent, climbing that ladder. And I was the first ICE director that actually came up through the ranks. First one. Usually they're political appointments. But it's a great honor because the 20,000 men and women that work for me, I never asked them to do anything. I didn't do it myself because I was one of them. Then, and coming from the director of the White House, I established a relationship with the president during Trump 45 when I was ICE director. And we kept that relationship going all through the last 4 years of the Biden administration. And after seeing what they did to the border, the president knew. President Trump had no doubt that I'd come back and help him fix it. And matter of fact, I was the first guy he called after one election. And because we have talked for the last 4 years about what a mess the border became and how I would like to come back and fix it. So a lot of it's by chance, but a lot of it I knew from day one what I wanted to do. And when I was a special agent with ICE, I knew I wanted a leadership role. So I drove for it. I worked hard for it. When I was first line supervisor, second line supervisor, I knew. I think I can do director. I think I can do a better job than what I'm seeing being done. So just drive and work hard. Earn it. What I tell people all the time, I run into politicians, bureaucrats all the time and they anger me because they demand respect. You can't demand respect, you gotta earn it. And one thing, you can hate me or love me, one thing people can't argue with, I've been from the bottom rung of that ladder to the top rung and never missed a rung. So when I sit here and draw up strategic policy for the country, I was a Border Patrol agent. I was an ICE agent. I climbed the ladder one rung at a time. So I would like to think I earned my respect because, I wasn't a golden boy. I didn't jump from step 1 to step 10. I went one step at a time through the last 41 years. So I've never demanded respect. I hope I've earned it from the workforce. I think I have it from most of them, if not all of them. But for anybody striving to climb the ladder, never forget where you come from and earn your respect. Don't demand it. Once you demand it, you fail. And there are people that demand it. And I can't think of one that demands it and is successful.
Some great advice for our officers. Let's talk about illegal crossings on the border. We're north of 96% down since President Trump has come back in.
The most secure border in the history of the nation. We're down about 96%. We went from illegal aliens crossing the border, got as high as 15,000. Yesterday it was 82.
82 illegals came across the border yesterday.
And everyone was arrested, and nobody was released. Sent home. So if you go from 15,000 to 82, that's pretty damn good. We'll get to zero. But
is it possible to get to zero?
We'll get to zero. I want to get to zero gotaways. As long as we're catching everybody, you got to secure a border. But we got to, the gotaways concern me the most, right? During the Biden administration, had 1,800 gotaways every day, an average. That's the average over the 4 years. 1,800 people crossed the border, weren't fingerprinted, weren't interviewed, weren't vetted. They got away. We don't know who they are, where they're from, or why they're here. That scares the hell out of me. But the gotaways now are I think the other day they were like 18. And we got to get the gotaways to zero. And I think we can get there. I think this will be the first administration in the history of the nation that has total 100% operational control of the southern border. Never happened in this country. It's going to happen now.
So we got the border crossings down. down to next to nothing, right? And now we're working on the interior with the apprehending the criminal illegals. There's many people out there that say is now the, as you say, the aperture has opened. Has it opened to include everybody at this point, or is it still focused on the criminal element, the worst of the worst, or is it anybody who's here illegal at this point?
From day one, it's been everybody. First of all, if you're in the country illegally, it's not okay. You're not off the table. But we do have to prioritize, right? We got less than 5,000 deportation officers, so you got to go for the worst first, and that's what we do. However, just because you prioritize something doesn't mean you forget about everything else. So if you look at the numbers now, I looked at the numbers first thing I do in the morning on the transport here, I go over the numbers. And you know, in the latest numbers I saw, approximately 70% of everybody we arrest are criminals. The remaining 30% could be national security cases, could be, you know, gang members, and it could be people find orders. People had due process at great taxpayer expense, by the way, and were ordered to remove and didn't leave, became a fugitive. Now we do arrest some illegal aliens who don't fall in any of those categories. They're just here illegally. And where we find most of them is in sanctuary cities, because we're out doing operations. When we find the bad guy, many times the bad guy's with others. We're not walking away from them. I mean, that's what last administration told ICE. You can't arrest somebody for simply being here illegal. They got to be convicted of serious offense before you can target for arrest. That's not what the law book said. Our agents took an oath to enforce immigration law. We're letting them do that. So if we find an illegal alien in the process of doing these operations, they're going to get locked up. And we'll put them in front of the judge unless they want to take a voluntary departure. And because we're doing what we're doing every day in the interior of the United States, you got like 1,000 teams out there every day. That has a big part of why we got a secure border. Because the men and women of Border Patrol, great. Boots on the ground are great. Remain in Mexico, great. And catch and release are great. But also the consequences of getting this country illegally, crossing the border illegally. They're seeing now, if you get by the Border Patrol, or if you were released like under the Biden administration, we're holding you accountable. I think the consequences and this interior operation that we're focused on right now has a lot to do why people aren't coming and trying to get into the country.
Several months back, when school was in session, there was this big misconception that ICE was coming to the schools to find children who were here illegal, and in my own community, it caused a lot of students to not come to school. Can you speak directly to that? Or is ICE actually doing that, or just speak directly to that? So why
ICE is not doing operation in schools.
Okay.
Now, we had a sensitive location policy where, you know, you had to get high-level approval to do any operations at a school, a church, a hospital, a clinic, or any of this stuff, a food bank. We did away with that. And because we did away with that, because again, we're prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. There's no sanctuary for a public safety threat and national security threat. It's zero sanctuary. So for instance, if we have to go to a high school, because we know there's an MS-13 gang member that's there, and we got a warrant for him. He's a public safety threat, and we've been looking for him. Now we know he's actually at school right now. We're going to work with local authorities, and we're going to go arrest him. But we're not going to go to school and check everybody's immigration status and do what they call sweep. It's just ridiculous. We don't do that at churches, we don't do it at schools, we don't do it at hospitals. And if you look at people we actually arrest out of school, I can count them on my hands across the country. We try not to do it regardless. But if it's a public safety threat, national security threat, we're going to do what we got to do to take them off the street. But as far as operations at schools, operations at churches, operations at hospitals, we simply don't do that. That's fear-mongering from the left. You know, I said from day one, when President Trump came back, they're going to vilify the men and women of ICE, they're going to vilify the men and women of Border Patrol, because that's their game. They can't argue the success of the administration. That's why I keep talking about the 70%. Every day I wake up and read the press releases. Most people in detention are non-criminals. Most of the people they're arresting are non-criminals. They're separating families. They're deporting U.S. citizen children. It's all a bunch of crap. If we deport a U.S. citizen child, give me a name. Give me a name of any U.S. citizen we deported. They can't come up with a name because we simply don't do that. But, so we got to stay ahead of it. We got to stay ahead of the false narrative they're pushing out. And it's a shame because the men and women of ICE, and I keep saying this, because of the false narrative that we're separating families, we're arresting kids at school, we're arresting people at a hospital, because of stuff like that, the rhetoric, the hateful rhetoric is why we have an 830% increase in attacks on ICE officers. Between that rhetoric, the false narrative that's being pushed by the media, plus members of Congress comparing ICE to Nazis and terrorists and racists, all that rhetoric feeds the nuts out there, the left. You have the right to protest, but there's a small population of these protesters who feel emboldened because of rhetoric from either from the media or members of Congress. Hey, if the senator thinks they're racist, maybe I have all the authority in the world to throw a stone at them. So the hateful rhetoric is causing a problem. The hateful rhetoric is based on a false narrative, false data. I want anybody that thinks ICE is not doing the right thing, go to the ICE website, look where they're arresting, look at the numbers, look at the data. The data speaks for itself.
Well, what's it going to take to turn that narrative around?
Messaging. We got to keep, I said from day one, we got to be transparent. Matter of fact, I was talking to my chief of staff yesterday. We got to get the White House to push out some more data information and just say, here's what we're doing. So like during these press conferences and you hear these stories, no. Put on a whiteboard behind you. Here's the data. Here's what we're doing. And I do that I do a lot of interviews. Every interview I do, I try to talk about the data, the results of what we're doing, the truth. And the more we do that, if we control the narrative, we control the truth, and that educates American people what we're doing. We got to do more of it.
Mr. Homan, I've watched many of your press releases that you've done, speaking in public and speaking to the American people. Do you think that your in-your-face approach scares people, intimidates them, or do you think the American people have become very sensitive and weak?
I tell them the truth, stone cold truth. And if I come off as strict, angry, because I am. I've lived this life. I've seen and held dead children. I've talked to little girls young as 9 that were raped by members of cartel. I've done human trafficking investigations where the most heinous crimes are committed against women and children make that journey. So I take this seriously. I take it personal because of my own experience of the last 4 decades. So it's not a game for me. And I have a strong opinion. My strong opinion is based on my experience. Secure border saves lives. And when you got people attacking men and women of ICE for doing what they do, they're saving lives, right? It's just like the stories of ICE detention are terrible. A man died in custody. That's unfortunate. But you know how many lives ICE saves in detention when they get someone in there and do the medical review and they find a serious problem? You never read about that. And so I'm in their face. I did an interview the other day, and someone mentioned, well, you threatened that heckler to meet him side stage. Yeah. I understand the position I am, but I'm also a man. You get in my face, you're going to get some. But the anger and the in your face comes from 40 years of seeing the most terrible things that I'll never forget. And the man you see sitting here today was, based on the terrible, terrible things I've seen. And that's why I push secure border saves lives. When 96% less people are coming, how many women aren't being raped come across that border? How many children aren't drowning in that river? How many Americans aren't dying from fentanyl overdoses because less coming across? How many women and children aren't sex trafficked? How many non-spectators aren't coming across? So I take it seriously. But people want to play games. They put politics over truth, politics over public safety. So if a reporter or a journalist wants to go, I'll go. If they want to push a false narrative and try to box me in a false narrative, they're going to lose. Because I'm not playing games. I take this job seriously, and everybody I work with takes the job seriously. President Trump is saving thousands of lives every day because 96% less people are putting themselves in peril to come to this country.
Do you think we've come to the point where transparency actually scares people, scares the American people, or do they just want to be fluffed?
Well, if you're looking for you. If you're in the country legally, you shouldn't feel good about that. you should be looking over your shoulder. It's not okay to be in this country legally. There are millions of people standing in line, taking their tests, paying their fees, doing their background investigation to be part of the greatest country on earth. They're all sitting in the back seat while millions of people committed asylum fraud, came across the border, and illegally released in the country by the last administration. And I say it on purpose. Federal law clearly says if you come to the border without proper documentation, you shall be detained. But they didn't detain, they released them.
Yeah.
So if you're in the country legally, you should be looking over your shoulder. That's the way it's supposed to be. If I was in, Germany illegally, I wouldn't feel comfortable. I'd be thinking, wow, I'm not supposed to be here. So it's what it is. Like I said, I'm not running popularity contests. I'm here to help President Trump make this country safe again. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. And I have to agree with you. I came to this country when I was 10 years old, and it took us 3 years to actually come to this country. And what they put us through to come to this country is just amazing. I mean, the vetting, the background, the history of your family. So it took us almost 3 years to get here. So when you are getting rid of these people that are coming in illegally, I agree 100%. So you're punishing the people that really want to be here for the right cause. But then we have these people just sneaking in here and causing havoc. So do you feel that someday this will change, where the understanding is that if you come to this country, you want to be a productive citizen and always do the right thing? And do you feel that they should fear the administration policies?
I don't drive down the highway 120 miles an hour because I don't want to get arrested. I don't walk into the supermarket and shoplift a Red Bull because I don't want to go to jail, right? So, if you're violating the laws of this country, you should not feel comfortable. That's the way it's supposed to be. And that's why I think what we're doing in the interior United States, showing consequences, is having a serious effect. Bad behavior is not going to change unless there's consequences. We learned that as kids. So, I think the message, look, a year ago, just before this administration came back, I was in New York City. Had someone pick me up at a hotel to take me to Fox News for an interview. It was a man from an African nation. He recognized me. He told me, I came to this country as a student. Then I became a resident alien. Then I studied and took my test and became a U.S. citizen. I have a wife and 3 children back in my country. I'm trying to bring them in. I'm going through the process. But every day I wake up, this is before the Trump administration, I was still by me. Every day I wake up, I see thousands of families crossing the border, being released, coming to New York City, a free hotel room, getting fed, getting medical care and all that stuff. And some mornings I wake up and say, why am I going through this process when I can just simply have my family come to the border and they'll be with me next week? He says, the reason I don't do it, because I love this country. That's why I want to become a citizen. I want to do the right things. But I got to tell you, Mr. Homan, I thought about it because I want my family here. It's just a shame that this administration, the Biden administration, is allowing that. Because he's not a dummy. He realizes the more and more fraudulent claims are made, it backs up the whole system. Some of these cases won't be heard for 7-9 years. He gets it. So that is one person I met out of the millions of people in that same position that are sitting in the back seat because of the open border caused by the last administration.
Do you think that some of these liberals take that approach that whenever you enforce a law, they always cop out by going to the he's racist, or he is against freedom of choice to come to this country? Do you think the American people, some of the liberals, are taking that approach to brand you as a racist when it's absolutely not true?
Caring about that years ago. Call me whatever name you want. I don't care. I know I'm doing the right thing. And if you wore my shoes for the last 40 years, you may not agree with me, but you'd understand me.
Yeah.
So, and second of all, I kind of enjoy some of the hate. If I get live their heads rent free, it's kind of cool because they wake up every day hating me for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Because most of the protesters you see out there, I guarantee you, if you walk up to them and say, "Why are you protesting? Tell me why you're protesting." They couldn't answer.
They have no clue.
They're just reading the false media about us separating families and us, deporting U.S. citizens, and it's just so. I get called every name in the book. I have threats against me. but I'm not going away. I don't stop what I'm doing. I know I'm doing the right thing. If you take the time to study what ICE does, if you take in consideration that ICE officers are mothers and fathers too, they're not inhumane. They're not monsters. These are men and women that strap a gun to their hip every day, put a Kevlar vest on every day to try to make this country safe again. A lot of cops get attacked. There's a lot of anti-cop out there.
Yeah.
And I can't believe it. Every day I wake up, I cannot believe the hate on ICE right now or hate on law enforcement. I mean, like I said, as a kid, I wanted to be like my father and my grandfather and be a cop. Back in that day, everybody respected cops. Cops were the good guys. Now we got this whole generation that thinks cops are the bad guys, the victims, and the criminals are the victims. I think under President Trump's leadership, we've seen that change drastically. Now, ICE and Border Patrol, the recruiting numbers are so high they can't even address them. I think more people understand the important job law enforcement does, and I think we're winning the message now.
Mr. Homan, we thank you again for your time and seeing value in Blue Magazine. And on behalf of Blue Magazine and law enforcement nationally, we really appreciate what you're doing, and we thank you very much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Big fan of Blue Magazine. A magazine created and by the cops.
That's it.
That's right.